Tammy Cavender, Deputy Director, Missouri Department of Labor and Industrial Relations. Happy Friday, Tammy, and thank you for being here.
Happy Friday and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me for this presentation for small businesses in Missouri. And certainly thank you, Angela, to you as well as the St. Louis County Library for putting these resources together and helping bring all of this kind of important information that we have across state government, across Missouri to our small businesses. As Angela mentioned, I'm Tammy Cavender. I serve as the Deputy Director for the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations. Our Department Director, Anna Hugh, is very disappointed that she is unable to be here with you today. And so she asked me to step in for her. Also with me today, I have Jared Brockman. Jared is the Regional Claims Manager over 4 claim centers throughout the state of Missouri in our unemployment insurance program. So Jared, thanks for joining us today as well. During the time that I have with you this morning, I just want to give an overview of the Department of Labor and really what programs we have to offer that help businesses, help keep workers safe, help you avoid layoffs, and some other resources that we have to offer you as well. So feel free to submit questions during the chat throughout the presentation. Jared is going to try to answer as many as he can. He's more on the unemployment insurance expert side, but together we'll try to answer all the questions that you have today. And if there's something that we're unable to answer, we'll be sure and give you our contact information so that we can get you that information at a later date. All right. So here's an org chart, a high-level org chart for the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations. And the department is made up of the Labor and Industrial Relations Commission and 5 main divisions. We have our Division of Employment Security, Workers' Compensation, Labor Standards, and the State Board of Mediation, and the Commission on Human Rights. And so, every state is made up a little different as far as what their labor agency covers. And you can see from the org chart here that we really have a wide variety of different services here under the umbrella of the Department of Labor. But as a small business, you really interact with quite a bit of our different divisions. And today I'd like to start by talking about our Division of Employment Security. Probably for you as small business owners, deal with the unemployment insurance program the most, and you're probably more and most familiar with that program, maybe particularly over the last year and a half because of the pandemic as well. The Division of Employment Security, they administer Missouri's unemployment insurance program. And what that program basically does is they pay benefits to those that are eligible for unemployment benefits in the state. The unemployment insurance program is a joint state and federal program. So it's funded by the federal government and solely through tax contributions that are made by employers throughout the state of Missouri. So there are no deductions for unemployment that are made from employees' paychecks for this program. And that is a mistake that a lot of individuals make. They're assuming that money is deducted from their individual paychecks. But in reality, employers pay into a fund. So as I mentioned, those UI taxes, they are deposited into a fund we call the Missouri Unemployment Compensation Fund. And those benefit payments that come from that fund are what are paid out to those individuals who are eligible for regular unemployments in the state of Missouri. Sometimes, again, the program is a little hard to understand. It's a very complicated program. But as I mentioned, it is employers that are paying into this benefit program, not employees. And employers can sign up online at our uinteract.labor.mo.gov website to pay tax contributions online. The Interact is our kind of state of the art, we like to think, full integrated system for unemployment insurance tax, benefits, and appeals. So as an employer, you can log into our system and do a lot of business online now, as well as for those unemployed, can file claims online and file appeals and do a lot of other things through the internet. Obviously, it's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. One question some new business owners have really is how that tax rate, how that unemployment insurance tax rate is determined. And when you start a business, a new employer is going to receive a tax rate that's assigned to them. And all new employers get assigned a tax with the same industrial classification. So, it's a little bit complicated, but if you're ever interested in learning more about that, you're welcome to go out to our website. We'll show you that web address here in a little bit, but it's labor.mo.gov, and you can get more information about that. But once an employer becomes eligible, an experience rate then is calculated based on the ratio between the employer's average annual taxable payroll, unemployment claims against its account, and taxes paid previously by the employer. So basically, the experience rate is really an incentive for employers to kind of maintain a stable employment, kind of reviewing those claims and reducing unemployment overall. So a little bit of a complicated program, but again, if you've been an employer for a while, you've experienced that and have gone through that process. The last year and a half has been tough on a lot of small businesses across Missouri, across the nation. And I just want to spend a few minutes sharing how COVID-19 really impacted our unemployment operations here in Missouri. In the span of 2 weeks, back in March of 2020, the number of first-time initial claims received by the department went from about 3,000 to 104,000. So again, 2-week period of time, we went from 3,000 claims filed to 104,000 claims filed. And so that's just really astronomical. No one can really even prepare for that. You always have a plan in place, but no one can really plan for something that unprecedented. And during that time, we implemented several new COVID-related federal unemployment benefits. And we did that in a very fast manner, among other states as well. And under the federal guidelines, claims are supposed to be processed within 14 days. And often, there's a lot of critical information that's sometimes received after that 14-day period, such as like maybe misreported wages, new employment separation. The unemployed worker may say that they were discharged, and then the employer may come back and say, no, they weren't discharged, they quit, a voluntary quit, etc. And so sometimes that information comes in after that 14-day period when decisions are already made. And what happens then at that point is that it ultimately may cause an overpayment. And you probably have heard overpayments in the news over the last year too. Overpayments really, they're anticipated within the unemployment insurance program. It's a routine part of the program because of how the federal government has it set up, with having to meet certain timeframes and having to make those decisions made within those 14 days as much as you possibly can. So, after we get information, then of course, the Division of Employment Security reevaluates all of that information, but it can potentially cause an overpayment as well. The past 20 months, we've seen some of the most difficult times here at the Department of Labor, but we certainly have tried to do our part in putting technology in place, hiring additional team members, contracting some services to be able to continue to provide services to both employers across the state, as well as those individuals who were impacted in their work due to the pandemic as well. So again, just wanted to kind of share some of those numbers. They are unprecedented, and it's just a small example of just the volume of claims that we had received, which obviously in turn then caused a large increase in call volume as well. But as we talk about those overpayments too, I think it's important as an employer to understand what we mean when we talk about overpayments. And there are really two types of overpayments in the unemployment insurance program, fraud and non-fraud. So the fraud occurs really when an individual makes false statements, like they purposely give incorrect information or they withhold information in order to just receive benefits in general. And on the non-fraud side of things, that really occurs when an individual receives benefits that they weren't necessarily eligible for, but in reality, it wasn't any kind of a fault on the individual themselves. They didn't intentionally withhold any information. An example of this is a lot of times people, there's a question about a pension and whether or not you're receiving a pension. And so people get confused because when they hear that question, they automatically assume that, oh, well, I've got a pension, my employer pays into a pension or I pay into a pension. And really it's asking if you're receiving that pension at the time. So again, just, a bit of a different terminology. Most people that file, especially during the pandemic, are first-time filers. And so, just a difference in terminology can make a huge difference and cause potentially some delays in the review of their case or an overpayment, and then it gets clarified later. So, in general, though, whether an overpayment is fraud or non-fraud, it is still something that ultimately needs to be paid back. So in either case, if the claimant was not eligible for the benefits, then at the end of the day, that's what our determinant has to be under the law. And that really, as it relates to the regular state program, because again, remember, that fund that's paying those benefits is through taxpayer dollars through employers. So, but you may have heard in the news, about the federal government benefits that were provided during the pandemic. And it definitely, increased the amount of potential unemployment benefits that individuals got during the pandemic. And the federal government, put several different pandemic programs in place. And depending on if you, were a gig worker, a self-employed, there's just many different new programs that were put into place over the last year and a half. And so you may have heard over the last several months that the state did give the opportunity for individuals who had received an overpayment for some of those federal benefits. They did have an opportunity to submit a request for a waiver to see if we would waive the overpayments for those federal benefits. So, those are notifications that we continue to receive in today. Jared and his team continue to review those on a regular basis and are making determinations on whether or not there was truly any fault on the individual who applied for those and if we can waive that overpayment for them or not. So that is an ongoing process that likely will be going on for quite some time. So switching gears over, one important part of our unemployment system is a program called shared work. And really, unfortunately, many employers are unaware of this program. So it is something we always try to share, at least to bring to your attention in case you may need these services in the future. So the shared work program is really an alternative to layoffs that allows an employer to divide available work among affected employees who then receive a portion of their unemployment benefits while working a reduced schedule. It helps businesses retain skilled employees during downturns, economic downturns, or it even allows them to transition periods between periods and reduce labor costs overall. It helps employees, on the other hand, by allowing them to retain their regular benefits, and they also receive then a portion of unemployment while they continue to work. So it helps then in turn communities, because we know when people are working, it benefits all of us in general, because they don't experience any kind of an economic impact of maybe full layoffs, especially for large employers in small areas, and it allows them to retain that kind of that skill level in their local communities as well. So, you know, that is a very high level overview of our Division of Employment Security and our unemployment insurance program, which again, I think most of you have probably experienced at some point dealing with us. I do want to switch over and talk about our Division of Workers' Compensation. It is our second largest division. Unemployment insurance is our first. Workers' compensation is our second largest division within the Missouri Department of Labor. And like unemployment, workers' comp is paid through an administrative tax on all workers' comp insurance carriers and self-insured employers. So it is something, again, that the employers are paying into. And the Division of Workers' Compensation here at the department, they provide an oversight of the programs that provide these services to workers who've either been injured on the job or they've been exposed to some type of occupational disease during their employment time. We have administrative law judges on staff across Missouri that serve kind of in a normal court setting, just like a judge, a court reporter. You typically have attorneys, and then those that are the injured party as well. And those administrative law judges, then they are approving settlements or issuing awards after the hearings themselves. Now, under Missouri law, and this varies by state, but under Missouri law, employers must carry workers' compensation insurance if they have 5 or more employees, or if it's in the construction industry, it's if they have 1 or more employees. So just some background information for those. There are some exceptions to that, of course, in the law, but generally speaking, those are individuals that need to carry workers' compensation coverage. All right, switching over to our next division, it's our Divisional Labor Standards. And you know, our Divisional Labor Standards is a fairly small division. They have about 35 to 40 employees, but they really do a wide variety of work. They have 5 different sections. The wage and hour section primarily handles investigations on complaints based on youth employment, minimum wage, prevailing wage. They get a lot of calls every day from individuals who are asking if they're entitled to a break or a lunch period. We have individuals who call that didn't get their last paycheck. They want to know what they need to do. So just a wide variety of things under the wage and hour section. And then we also have a kind of 3 different safety programs underneath this division as well that work together, but kind of have different niches as well. It's the worker safety, the on-site consultation, safety and consultation program, and the mine and cave safety program. And so that on-site program, they are partnered with the federal OSHA program. And so they typically go into small businesses and help you evaluate and abate any type of workplace hazard that you have. It's a free, confidential service. So I do highly recommend, if you are a small business and you don't have the safety staff available to you, to reach out to our on-site safety and health consultation program and set up a time for them to be able to come out and look around your facility and make recommendations to abate some workplace hazards that you might have. Our mine and cave safety program, they're responsible for going out and inspecting the mines and the caves throughout Missouri. Actually, you know, Missouri is known for all of its caves, and they're responsible for inspecting the public caves for that are used by the public. So the ones like at Silver Dollar City and some others across the state, there's many. In fact, I'll be going on Wednesday of next week to Jacob's Cave in Versailles, Missouri, to observe an inspection by one of our inspectors as well. And then they have a research and analysis section, and primarily they're collecting data. They partner with the Federal Bureau of Labor Statistics, and they collect workplace injury and fatality information from mostly private employers across the state. And then they pull together a lot of analytics to provide back to BLS. But the department also uses that information with these safety programs, so we can identify any kind of trends that are happening maybe in a certain occupation or a certain time period, certain place in Missouri, et cetera. So we're able to analyze that data and then put our safety programs can kind of concentrate then in those particular areas to try to overall reduce injuries in the workplace here in Missouri. And something that I wanted to highlight, a few years ago, the department developed a website. It's called Safe at Work. And its intent is really to be kind of a one-stop shop for safety information. So you can see the address there. It's just labor.mo.gov/safe-at-work. It has a lot of great information on it. It includes injury data. It has data sheets, other safety tools that both employers as well as safety professionals can use at their fingertips. They can just print it out and take it to their meetings or educate the staff or other safety professionals in there as well. And it certainly allows us to kind of track, as I mentioned, some of those industries in the state maybe that have the most hazardous injuries, so that we can monitor that to help address that as well through our safety programs. But as you can see on the screen, the data gets down and is very specific. I mean, it can tell you in a specific industry, like the time of day something happens, the day of the week, the month, gender, age, you know, the county that it's highest happening in. So it's a really great resource that's available to you as an employer out there, or to any of your safety programs if you have any within your business as well. So please do take a few minutes to go out to our Safe at Work website to learn some more information about that and use those resources. They're updated on a regular basis. All right, so the State Board of Mediation. The State Board of Mediation is our smallest division. It consists of 2 individuals, a chairman, and then we also have someone who helps put all of the elections together. They are a quasi-judicial board that really administers the public sector law, which covers most public sector employees who seek union representation. So the board, they identify collective bargaining units, they determine who should be in those units, and then they hold elections to either certify or decertify union representation for these public entities. Now, again, it's only on the public sector side, so they don't do any kind of work for a private industry or private firms, but it is something that's available to school districts, some school districts, fire districts, etc., police departments. All right, Commission on Human Rights. So they're also housed within the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations, and really their mission at Human Rights is to develop, recommend, and they also implement ways to prevent discrimination and to provide fair and timely resolution of discrimination claims through the enforcement of the Missouri Human Rights Act. I don't know how many of you are familiar with what's under the Missouri Human Rights Act, but this commission has investigators who, when a complaint is received, they're going to investigate that based on discrimination in housing, of public accommodations, as well as employment, based on protected categories underneath the law. So they spend a lot of time going out and providing training and education for employers. So if you're ever interested in having someone come and speak to your company about what is allowable and not allowable underneath the law, you're welcome to go out to our website. We have a speakers bureau, and you can request that they come out and talk to your teams within your organizations as well. So that really is kind of an overview of all of the different services through all the different divisions that we offer here at the Department of Labor. So as I mentioned earlier, you can see we have a wide variety of things, from unemployment, workers' comp, workplace safety, discrimination in the workplace, collective bargaining units. It's just a wide variety of different services that we have to offer to small businesses across the state. And really, you can find a lot of helpful information out on our website at the labor.mo.gov. And you can see some of those that are listed here. One item that can be very helpful for a starting business is our quick guide for new employers. That is available out on our employment security webpage. All you have to do is go to the labor.mo.gov/new-employer, and you can have access to that. But it's really a quick kind of run through of all the programs and services that we have available here at the department, and a lot of good information. You can see some more here as well on what's offered in that pamphlet as well. So definitely want you to jot that down. It's a good quick resource for employers, and employers particularly who are wanting to start a new business. All right, well, I've talked a lot, given a lot of information, and so I do want to take a break and see if we do have any questions that have come up in the chat, or if there's anything that Jared and I can help answer today.
While others may be thinking, Tammy, what would be the starting point for a new business owner? You may have said that.
Yeah, actually, when you're starting a new business in the state of Missouri, there are actually multiple departments that you'll need to contact. Department of Labor is one of them. Department of Revenue is another. The Secretary of State is another entity that you have to go to those 3 different places to register and get signed up in the state of Missouri. I will say, however, that the state is working on a employer portal that hopefully, I don't know when exactly it will be completed, but it's something that they've started working on. And that again will be kind of a one-stop shop for employers, especially new employers are wanting to start a business as well. Anything else? Let me type in the chat here my email address. And so if there is something that you would like to know about after today, you're welcome to email me. I do see one question that's come in. Would you help explain unemployment for self-employed or sole proprietors? Jared, is that something you can address?
Yeah, Tammy, I will. And as you may be aware, typically the unemployment program doesn't, there isn't any unemployment benefits available for those who are self-employed or sole proprietors. However, during the pandemic, from starting in February of 2020 up through June 12th, of 2021, there was a pandemic unemployment assistance program that did pay some benefits to those who were self-employed and were impacted directly by the pandemic. So if you are self-employed or a sole proprietor, you may have needed to use those services in the past year and a half. But now that the pandemic unemployment assistance program has ended, currently moving forward, there aren't any benefits for self-employed.
Thanks, Jared. What else can we help with today? I did add my email address, so feel free to jot that down if you do think of something after today.
Tammy, I thought of another question. Are there certain challenges or mistakes, for lack of better words, that small business owners commonly make as it relates to your department?
You know, one area that I often think about is our Division of Labor Standards. And, you know, there's a lot of things to consider as it relates to kind of workplace safety, as well as youth employment. Many small businesses hire, especially in smaller community, hire teenagers, high school workers, et cetera, to come in and help maybe a restaurant or some kind of retail, et cetera, their lawn service. And so please keep in mind that there are restrictions for 14 and 15-year-olds at Missouri. And then there's also some restrictions at the federal level on what individuals can actually do, like what occupations they can do, as well as the hours that they can work. And it depends on whether or not someone's in school or if it's the summertime. So the hours change in middle of May and then back in the middle of August again during the school session. But for example, a 14 and 15-year-old, if they work at McDonald's, they shouldn't be operating the fryer. They can do the cash register, they can do the seating, but they shouldn't be operating a fryer, for example. A lawn service, the same thing, like 14 and 15-year-olds shouldn't be operating dangerous equipment as it relates to that field. So, you know, that's something that just isn't necessarily on individuals' radars. They're not aware that some of those laws exist. So that is one area to bring to employers' attention.
Yeah, Tammy, from the unemployment perspective, one thing that I would also point out is the importance of whenever there is a separation with one of your employees of, you know, making sure when you get that notice that if there is something that you need to bring to our attention, that you provide that information to us. And then there's oftentimes going to be a follow-up contact, either a phone call or by some other method, we may contact you, and just the importance of getting that information to us so we make the proper determination. Because I think especially in a small business sense, you know, for example, if Ford has to pay on an unemployment claim, that may not affect their tax rate that much because they have thousands of employees, but a smaller business with less employees, that can impact their rate moving forward.
Yep, thank you, Jared. Excellent point.
I see Evelyn Adrian has asked a question in chat. Am I correct that a sole proprietor, self-employed, wouldn't pay unemployment insurance? And that is correct. Self-employed individuals or sole proprietorships do not pay the unemployment insurance. And you know, as we were talking earlier, that in normal times, unemployment benefits are not available to self-employed or sole proprietors, and that's probably the primary reason why, is because they do not pay into that trust fund that Tammy was mentioning earlier.
Anything else we can help with today? So for workers' compensation, then it does depend on the FTEs that I had. If you have 5 or more employees working for you, then you are required under Missouri law to pay into the workers' compensation program, or 1 or more if it's a construction industry. Now, again, there are some exceptions to that for religious things and so forth. And for more of those details on the exceptions, you're welcome to go out to our website at labor.mo.gov and just go to our workers' compensation page, and they'll be able to provide some more details about that. All right, well, we certainly appreciate the invite today. We're always wanting to help share information that we provide to the citizens and to employers across the state. We do have close to 700 employees that serve Missourians across the state of Missouri. And so we offer a lot of important services to small businesses and those that you serve and those that you employ. So we're happy to have had the opportunity. Thank you for attending today. And of course, as I mentioned, if you have any future questions, you're welcome to email me, and I will be happy to get an answer to you.
Tammy and Jared, thank you so much for your presentation. It was thorough and very informative, and we are happy that we have a partnership with you. So thank you so much. To all of our patrons, St. Louis County Library has many resources and services to assist with starting and managing a small business or a nonprofit organization. A library card is needed to access most of the resources, and we'd like to extend an invitation for you to sign up for a library card. Information has been posted in the chat in order for you to sign up for a card today. We're also going to include a link to schedule a Zoom appointment with one of our reference librarians. We are always available to assist with research, navigating our small business databases, and also answering questions. So we want everybody to make sure that they are able to get those questions answered that you may need related to your small business. Also, as a reminder, today we do have a survey that we're asking everyone to complete, and completing the survey will allow you to enter into a drawing, and the drawing is for a $15 Amazon gift card. So please, we would love to have your feedback about our Small Business and Nonprofit Expo. So to our patrons, thank you so much for joining this afternoon and for your participation in our Small Business and Nonprofit Expo. Thanks again, Jared and Tammy, and everybody have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Hey, everyone.